Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Tamara. Today we are covering a book versus adaptation of the popular historical romance fantasy title, My Lady Jane, and its Amazon Prime Video series adaptation. If you would like to see this in video format without ad breaks, you need to head on over to Patreon and sign up. There is a ton of content there for you to watch, including after shows, reading vlogs, and more. If you are listening on the Spreaker podcast app, by signing up as a supporter, you also will have access to the after shows and other exclusive audio-only content. If you prefer video, including reading vlogs, you'll need to check out Patreon instead. You can also join me and my two co-hosts over on the Book Clubs app for even more bookish chats. Please subscribe and like the podcast wherever you're listening. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me pretty much everywhere at Shelf Addiction. Joining me today is featured co-host Casey from Heart Full of Ink. Welcome back, Casey.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've done one of these.
It has been.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be a fun conversation.
I think so. A fun book for a fun conversation.
Yes.
All right. Tell everybody where they can find you online.
You can find me on Facebook at Heartful of Ink, on Instagram at Casey_Heartful of Ink, or on my website, heartfulofink.com.
Okay. So before we begin, I want to remind you that with book chats, we talk full spoilers. So spoiler alert, you have been warned. Today, we are discussing My Lady Jane, the first in the Lady Janie's trilogy, written by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows Briggs. The audiobook was narrated by Katherine Kellgren. Published June 7th, 2016 by Harper Teen and Harper Audio. The hardcover is 512 pages, and the unabridged audio is 13 hours and 46 minutes. Casey, would you kindly read the synopsis?
In My Lady Jane, co-authors Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows have created a one-of-a-kind YA fantasy in the tradition of The Princess Bride, featuring a reluctant king, an even more reluctant queen, a noble steed, and only a passing resemblance to actual history, because sometimes history needs a little help. At 16, Lady Jane Grey is about to be married off to a stranger and caught up in a conspiracy to rob her cousin, King Edward, of his throne. But those trifling problems aren't for Jane to worry about. Jane gets to be Queen of England. Like that could go wrong. And don't miss the author's next fun read, My Plain Jane.
Okay. So, I gotta say, I like the Tudor stuff. I have read other Tudor stuff. So I was like, sure, why not? What's a funny, quirky take on that time? And
this.
So high level, when you finished the book, what'd you think?
I was laughing because it was so absurd. And I think this hit me at exactly the right moment in life where I was like, I want something funny. I want something absurd. I don't want to have to think too hard. It's just, over the top crazy, carry me away. And that's what the story did.
Yeah, it was exactly that. It really had the little cute, everyone has a pairing at the end. We're all happy. Yay.
Yay. Everybody has their happily ever after.
Yeah.
Everything is great.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought it was good. I don't think I loved it as much as you, but I thought it was good. And to be honest, so I read and listened to the audiobook. Okay. And I have to say, the audiobook narrator was spectacular.
Ooh.
She nailed the comedy.
Oh, good.
I laughed out loud at something.
Oh, that's amazing.
The part where the king is trying to talk himself out of jumping out of the window.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, it's so fucking funny. Like, the audiobook was hilarious. I died laughing. It was so funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
My gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think for me, the comedy translated better on audio than reading.
That's fair. Usually that happens. You just need that person to really hit those notes. But yeah, no, I was reading this on a plane, trying not to laugh too loud and wake up my other passengers.
Sorry, it's really funny.
Yeah, sorry, guys. This is fake history and it's really funny.
I'm glad. Okay, so let's dig into it a little bit before we talk about the movie. So what we'll do is we'll do the book first. We'll take a quick break and then we'll do the movie.
Perfect.
I mean, the adaptation.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
So the book was great. If turn off your brain. Don't think about actual history. There are narrators in the story to remind you to stop thinking about what really happened in actual history.
Mm-hmm.
And they just run with it. And if you can turn that part of your brain off, this is hilarious.
It is hilarious. And the narration is really unique.
Mm-hmm.
How the narrator is kind of just there the whole time, kind of reminding you and telling you like little things you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny. I think I've tried to read other comedy before and it just didn't work for me. But this actually did work. It's fun. It's quick. It's very fast. I liked the characters, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there are a few weird spots, like the bear that they had to go kill. That was just so random and then never talked about again. And I was like, maybe you didn't need to actually kill the bear. You could have done something else instead and just,
Yeah.
It was so random and absurd, but
Mm-hmm.
and then poor King, the kissing cousins thread that kept coming up was weird.
What, between the king and Jane?
Yeah. That almost love triangle that wasn't really a love triangle, but kind of a love triangle. I was like, maybe you could have done without this. Like,
well, the show nixed it all together.
Thank goodness.
We can talk about
I was
that
very
later.
happy about that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like they're cousins, but he kind of seems like he does like her, and
she likes him, and they are best friends. And they say, "I give you all my love all the time." And they stare at each other, and they hug each other, and they touch each other. They never actually kind of crossed that line, which was good. I was worried that there might be a kiss at one point, but thankfully, no kisses.
Well, I mean, back then people married their cousins. Oh, yeah. So,
and the narrator reminded you. The narrator is like, this is a time when you could and often did marry your cousin. And I was like, still don't like it.
Eek.
I'm glad we're changing this part of history. Like, you could have just nixed it all together.
Yeah. I agree. I'm glad they didn't go there. I also am really glad that she actually liked Guilford or G, you know. Although I have to say, so I kind of knew it was going to be like fantastical in a way, but I didn't know in what way. Like, I don't really remember reading the synopsis. I just knew it was something very unique and different about this.
Well, the synopsis doesn't tell you. There's just a noble steed.
Oh my God. But when this man literally turns into a fucking horse, and then everyone and their mother starts turning into animals too, I'm kind of tripping out. Like, okay, wait, everybody has the ability to do this?
Yeah, no, it's a very fun paranormal romance without telling you it's a paranormal romance until you're knee deep in it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit.
I think when that first happened, I was kind of like, oh, I think I just was surprised. And I'm like, oh, it's that kind of story? Okay. And I was just kept going. But I think I was kind of, to be honest, I was okay with the king turning into the bird. I was fine with it. But then when Jane turned into a freaking ferret, oh, they couldn't even figure out what to call her. Like, what is it?
You're a rat, my dear.
Like, no. I'm like, but everyone now is, what's the word that they call themselves? They are
Ethian.
Ethian. So everyone is really Ethian.
Yes, and that was a bit over the top. Like, you could have had more Verity, pure human, but they really wanted to paint Queen Mary as evil Verity and the Verities as like the bad guys. So all of the good guys needed that distinction of like, yep, we're cool because we can turn into a fox or a bear or a hawk or a ferret or a dog or anything.
Can I just say that would creep me the fuck out if I had a dog sitting in my room all the time while I'm dressing, undressing, doing whatever.
For weeks.
And then the dog turns into a girl.
Yeah, no, that would be too much. I would freak out just the way King Edward did. I'd be like, nope, I'm out.
Like,
no more sleeping
wrong.
In my bed.
Get out.
This is not okay.
Yeah, I don't blame him because I'm like, that's wild. But I think if I had to nitpick, that would be one thing I wish they didn't do. But again, we'll talk about it later, but the show corrects this. because I think it's a little too much, too overkill. It's no longer like special and unique if everyone just at the drop of time, oh, look, I can turn into one too. Me too. Me too. Like, what?
Yeah.
So I think if that's one of the critiques I would give for the book. But if I kind of just let that go, it was still fun. Although it's it was more, I kind of knew it was YA, but I don't know. It was YA.
It was YA. And then the show is not.
No,
the show is not YA.
No. It's definitely older feeling. But how old is Jane in this book?
16.
16. Because in the show, I think she's older.
I think she's 17 or 18.
Okay.
But yeah, no, because they have sex scenes in the show, so they needed her to be a little bit older.
But yeah, I guess also they marry off women really young back then as well. So.
Oh yeah, no, she was almost a spinster at 16. Way too old to be married at that point. Which was absurd. But yeah, no, it was so fun. And her love of books was kind of relatable, if I'm being really honest. I have definitely built walls with my books and just kept people out of my space with a wall of books.
Yeah, I get how she's relatable in that way. I'm like, oh, she's a book lover. I love it. But she also thinks she knows everything because she read a book. So
yeah, and that was annoying. And they did call her out on that. I appreciated that when the King Edward and oh god, her noble steed husband G, when they're like, she told us just to
just do it,
just be bigger and don't look like food, and if it looks to you, you're too much like food, so stop being like food.
That sounds like she kind of forgot that chapter, but she has the highlights. She don't really know.
She doesn't know.
No. That's funny. But yeah, I think that's also part of the quirk of it,
Each of their characters was so in depth and like almost cartoonishly their personalities. Like G, when he was human, he very much, kept feeling like a horse. And they did that purposely, I think, a few times, in his first chapter, when he was like, I'm galloping across my room the way a man can gallop instead of a horse. And you're like, okay, you might be pushing this horse thing a little too far.
Yeah. And it's strange. So he's the only one in his family that can change? Is that right?
His mother could.
Okay. I don't remember that.
And they said at one point, like, sometimes it skips a generation, sometimes it skips a couple generations, but it's, always through the bloodline. So I assumed it was his. Oh, no. In the book, his mother cheated on his father. That was it. No, that was it. Because of the nose thing. They went off and on and on about the stupid nose thing, which was almost getting anti-Semitic. But, like, he didn't have the nose. So he got it from his new father's line.
Oh my God, that's right. Because Jay made such a big deal about not having that
nose.
Fucking nose.
That goddamn nose. They axed that in the show too, and I'm really glad because I was like, this is getting to be a little much. Stop making jokes about big noses. Like, that's not funny.
Yeah, and I thought at first, I'm like, what's the deal with the nose? And at first I didn't really catch it. I'm like, what are they talking about? Like
the big note, like the big note. Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah. And you're right. That part was not funny.
That needed to be cut out of the book.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure in the book, not the TV show, but in the book, that's why he can change and nobody else in his family can. Because his real biological father, who is not Dudley, had the line.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense. Although, also, what do you think about like the scheming in the book? So the scheming of, G's father and Mary and all of that. How do you think that kind of worked out?
It felt very plain, very rushed, very stereotypical. He's a bad guy to be a bad guy. He's not really hiding it. He's jumping from ship to ship. It felt very YA-ish. Like, here's your bad guy. Here's what he's doing. Oh no, he switched sides. Oh no, now we're fighting him. Like, it just felt he was not fleshed out as much as he could have been. Neither was Mary. Mary could have had so much more. And I'm glad they did that with the show. But in the book, she was just like, here, let me feed you some poison because I want to be queen. Oh, now you're dead, so I'm queen.
I mean, honestly, though, this book was already long enough.
It was.
I think it was kind of a little bit almost too long. Because it did, like, to me, okay, so for me, I felt like, yeah, some of those characters would have been nicer to flesh them out a little bit, but some of it also was kind of slow. It had these peaks and valleys for me, where I'm like, what are we doing? What are we...
Why are we doing this? Why are we focusing on this? This doesn't need to be like this. Yeah. No, there was a lot of that. And that was frustrating. Again, like that bear scene. They didn't need... I know it was action, but they didn't need it. They could have done something else. And
maybe the authors... Now, that is one thing. When you have 3 people writing something, I couldn't really tell... And this might be a good thing and a bad thing. So they kind of melded their work pretty well. I couldn't like see, well, this is a different style. That's a different style. I couldn't really see that. So I'm going to assume they kind of split it up where someone's writing for the narrator. Maybe someone's writing for, I don't know. I did not investigate to see how they wrote this, but I think part of it slowing down like that is because different parts were written by different people and they didn't want to like cut people's work.
I'm assuming they just each took one of the 3 main characters because we had the 3 points of view. And so they each wrote a separate chapter. But I applaud them for having that melded voice, because when you have books that are so distinctively different in not character voice, but writing style, then it gets kind of awkward and annoying. And you're like, oh, this chapter. Oh, I don't like this author because of this chapter. I don't like when they write like this. This way, it felt cohesive and it felt like they were all on the same page and they all had the same sense of humor with it. Like there were little tiny jokes that some people did that others didn't, but it all felt very cohesive and it felt like one continuous story, even though it could have been and should have been edited a little bit more. I thought it felt cohesive.
Yeah, I agree. It felt very like just one story, which is the most important thing because there's nothing worse than a choppy book. But I think because of it was the fact that it was 3 of them is probably also leading to some of the slow bits and some of the over-explained bits and then under-explained bits.
Yeah. No, if there were only 2 authors, I would have cut down on Edward's point of view a lot more. Like, we didn't need him as much as he was in the book. And again, that's why I'm assuming, like you, I didn't do any research into this. So I'm assuming that one of the authors was his point of view and needed, 30% of the book to write. And so, that could have been edited down a bit. But
Edward's parts were kind of strange to me a little bit. The best part from him was when he jumped out the window. That was the best.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, but the whole like grandmother thing, I didn't really...
Well, that's his connection to his cousin Jane. Like that.
Yeah.
They needed to be like, okay, yes, they are cousins. They have the same grandma. Like it's all... They are family. Literally family. And we need to figure out why she only changes at night.
Just weird, but...
It was so weird.
Yeah, but his part, you're right, could have been cut down dramatically. And the show corrected that too. We'll get to that too. I mean, they butchered this book.
They basically just kept the bare bones names and essential, like, this is an absurd historical retelling, and then changed everything else. Do we want to get into that now, or?
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and I think we should rate the book first, though.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna my rating of that show is gonna be completely different from the book.
All right.
So,
you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So, I liked it, but I think I got a good amount of the comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was as funny to me as it could have been,
Mm-hmm.
but when it hit, and I died laughing, and
Yes.
a bunch of it didn't hit. Again, I still feel like it was peaks and valleys with the pacing. The pacing was a little inconsistent for me. And I just like the tutor's time. So I like that. But with that said, I'm just going to honestly just give it a 3. It was a 3 for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
did I like this enough to continue with this series just to find out what Jane we're talking about next? Because I looked ahead and they're all different Janes. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not more of this story.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would. So that's where I'm going to leave the book.
Okay.
Your turn.
I'm giving it a 4-star because it made me laugh. And when a book
Mhm.
can make me laugh like that, I like it. But it is, I'm putting that with the caveat of like, it is so absurd. And I'm not sure I would actually recommend this to people, or I would recommend it with the big caveat of like, how much do you like history? How much can you turn your brain off with this? You know, what is your sense of humor? Because this is so
Yeah.
over the top. I can absolutely see people like getting very sensitive to it, getting really frustrated with it, hating. Like, I can see why people would hate this. But personally, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really just fun. And I like books that are fun. Like, I love it when authors take their idea and they just fucking go for it. And they're like,
Yeah.
this is our story. This is what we're making. This is how funny we want it to be. This is how wrong with history we want it to be. Now, buckle
Mhm.
up and just take the
Go for
story.
the
And
ride.
I appreciate that.
See, I think the humor kind of fell on when we read Good Omens,
Mm-hmm.
the humor didn't really hit for me exactly.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is a British story, it's an English story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe it's the British humor I don't get. I don't know. It's a very specific kind of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm probably the team where I was surprised it worked for me. So some of it worked and
Yes.
some of it didn't. So I'm kind of like in the middle. Well, it
Mm-hmm.
worked a lot more for
Yeah.
you than it did for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I think really if you are a humor reader and you read all kind of humor, this might be more palatable for you. But if you don't really like funny books, like that, like not just quirky, but like funny.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I think I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
But I do recommend the audiobook though. The
Okay.
audiobook to me hit better than reading it. And that doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't.
Like, I love a good narrator, but my God, this narrator was spectacular.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would even actually give the audiobook a 5-star rating up if I did
wow.
halves. Because because the narrator was just that good.
That's amazing. Okay, I'll have to go back and try and listen to it when I have free time, because that is high praise coming from you. That is high praise.
It is. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we are going to talk about the show and all the twists and turns and changes they made. And we're going to rate the show and maybe even see if we're going to continue watching, because it seems like it's going to be a second season. So check out these commercials. And when we get back, we will jump right into that. And while you are listening, don't forget to pick up a copy of the Book Review Journal, available right now on Amazon. Click the links below to check it out. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, guys. Time to talk about the adaptation. Amazon picked this up and did it on Prime Video.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw this trailer, it was giving me I originally said it was giving me vibes of, what is that show on Hulu? I just said The Great.
Yes, The Great.
I said it was giving me those vibes based on the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But as I started watching it, I kind of could still draw minimal lines, but it was really a different show.
Oh, yeah. You know what it reminded me of?
Yeah.
Ella Enchanted.
Oh.
That children's movie from 10 years ago? More than 10 years, but I don't want to age myself.
Wow.
With Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
That was another one that's a movie based off of book that just kept the names of the characters and changed literally everything. But yeah, no, it was giving me, this is like adult version of Ella Enchanted, because here we're saying fuck every 2 seconds and having sex, and Ella Enchanted is PG as PG can get. Like, it is a child's movie. But I still was kind of getting those vibes.
Okay, I get that. I kind of can see that, yeah. But this show definitely, like you said, is for adults.
Yes.
It's I think it had a TV 14 rating on Prime
I think
TV.
so. Yeah.
It stars Emily Bader. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I haven't seen her in anything before this, but I know she picked up another adaptation after doing this. I saw her in the news recently where she had just like did an announcement where she's doing let me just make sure I know what I'm talking about right quick. She just announced that she got the role in People We Meet.
I don't know that one.
I guess the characters are Poppy and Alex with People We Meet on Vacation. That book. Have you heard of that book?
Is that Emily Henry or somebody else?
I think it is. I think it's Emily Henry.
I haven't read anything by Emily Henry yet.
Yeah, me neither. But I remember it was really popular and like it was on everyone's list for the longest time. But anyway, she picked up that after doing this. And Edward Blumel is Lord Guilford Dudley. And who else is popular on here? A lot of people I don't really know, which is fine. Oh, yeah. Anna Chancellor. I've seen her in a lot of stuff. The Mother. I've seen her in other things. It was cast well, I think. I had a lovely surprise when I saw that the king was black. I said, hey, look at that.
Oh, yeah. No, I was very happy that they went diverse with the show and the casting, because the book was very white. Let's be honest. It was
very white.
Very white.
Yeah. So Jordan Peters plays Edward, King Edward. And yeah, he did a good job, I think. And even Elizabeth, Princess Elizabeth, right?
Yeah, she was half
She's
black.
mixed. Yeah. I'm like, look at that. Look at that.
And then their sister is like very, very white.
Well, you know, the king had his ladies. He had all the wives. They all had different mothers.
Oh, yeah. No, everybody had a different mother. But it was just funny that like the same dad gave birth to these 3 children.
That's how it is, though. We have siblings sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
but yeah, I was like, they're pretty people, though.
They're all very pretty. Yeah. So normally adaptations that change everything annoy me to no end, and I have to sit there and nitpick it. But this time I was like, you know what? The book kind of fucked up with some of these things. So I'm going to appreciate these changes.
I did nitpick it at first, and I think that's just out of habit. But I want to say maybe about halfway through, I just stopped doing that. So around episode 4, I'm like, whatever. It's just different.
Yeah.
After I was done with it, like I finished the show, I don't know, 2 days ago now. After I was done with it, I thought every change they made was pretty good. There were a few that were kind of weird that, you know, but in general, they were pretty good. Some of the parties they had were not in the book, obviously.
They added the sisters were new. And I was like, do we really need them? Do we need Susanna? We had Gracie in the book. Why can't we have Gracie the fox? Like, that would be so much cooler. I will say that initial wedding scene night in the book is far better than what they did in the show. I prefer that one so much. He's drunk, face first on the floor. Just like, what are you saying?
But in the book, they didn't have to watch them. In the show, they did that same old.
That was weird and gross. And
honestly, it was so stupid. Like, they're not even touching each other, but their legs are entangled.
Their feet are touching.
They're like, basically flutter your feet. I'm like, what the hell? Like...
That's not how sex works.
No, anybody worth anything that has had sex would know.
Like the mother who has sex more than her daughter in the show.
Look,
Good Lord.
you have a cover or a blanket over them. You see two distinct bodies, and then the legs are entwined.
There's like a foot of space between them. There's like so much space between these bodies.
Hilarious. Again, I'm like, wow. So like the stupidity of it, like it's so tongue in cheek, like on purpose.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny, but I do think that the book version of that was funnier. Like he just was. Then he woke up and he just
turned into a horse. It was a horse in the room all day. They had more of a love story in the book, with her sitting and reading to him and feeding him apples and bonding like that. Here in the show, they just kind of argue and then make out a lot. And it felt more lusty than love.
Well, the show put in another scene where she had met him before she knew who it was. And she was lusting after his ass. So, yeah, it was a lot more lusty than love because, she's seen him before. And then when she got to the
altar, she's like, damn.
She's like, oh, shit.
I just met you at the bar last night.
Yeah, she thought it was his brother she was going to have to marry.
I will say I liked his redemption in the last episode. And I'm glad he got that here a little bit. Like, him and his dad. They changed a lot in the show and did not change at all in the book.
Well, in the book, his father was the villain. In the show, they created another character.
Yeah. Yeah. He was completely innocent in all of this. Which I thought was weird. I was like, you have the perfect villain right here who's setting this all up. Why do you need somebody else?
Although he still wanted his son to be king, he still kind of tried to push her to make him king, but he wasn't doing the poisoning and all that.
Which is good, I guess.
They create a whole new character, and we got a whole lot of FaceTime with Mary that you said you wanted in the book.
Yes. I'm really glad they did this in the show, because if she was as flat in the book as she was, like, no, it never would have worked. They needed this character development. They needed this depth to her. They needed all of this pizzazz, I guess. I don't know. She was wild and crazy and just going for it.
It was her own plot, and her little boyfriend, who was her boyfriend? What was his name? Lord Seymour.
Yes.
Okay, played by Dominic Cooper. And their whole plot was to, poison the king and take over, to the point where he had a fake will made. He faked it out. And the relationship between them was honestly hilarious to me. Like, they had this dom subs situation going. I'm like, oh,
there was a lot of spanking. There was a lot of kink.
Okay, so what the hell was on her hand? I'm like, at first, like the first scene, you could see her whacking him. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that looks like it's going in there a little bit. That looks like that.
I thought there were like little itty bitty spikes on there. So it's, not quite puncturing skin, but definitely pushing on it.
I was like, there should have been blood when he jumped up and threw his clothes on. Because I'm like, that looked painful, dude.
But he liked it. He wanted it. He asked for it.
He sure did. He was like, okay, let's continue. Get back to it. She like, wait a minute. We got to talk. He like, What a mess. So that's the kind of things that I think, honestly, I wouldn't have minded that in the book, but the book would have had to have been adults to get us there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that would never have happened in the book just because it was so YA in the book. Like, they barely even kissed in the book. There was nothing beyond the PG kiss in the book.
Yeah.
And I was kind of glad that they threw that out the window and said, we're going to say fuck. We're going to say fuck this, fuck that, fuck you, fuck no, fuck all of the things. And then we're actually going to show people fucking, because why not?
Why not? Yeah. I mean, honestly, it was way more entertaining. It was way more interesting, because if it was a more, I guess, 1-to-1 transformation, I feel in my heart I would have been so bored with it. I would
Oh,
have.
yeah, no. There needed to be so much more plot and character development, and the show got that. And so, being able to stop nitpicking and just enjoy the show for being the show, which again, normally I can't do, but this time I was able to turn my brain off and just like enjoy the show for the sake of the show. Yeah, they did it right.
Yeah, I think they took out the things we didn't like. They added things to compensate. Like everything that we complained about in the first half of the show, they fixed.
Yes. Oh
They
yeah.
fixed.
All of the character development, all of the plot, all of this, all of that. Like they fixed it.
Yeah.
So I feel like the people who produced this read the book, loved it, understood what the authors were going for, but said, we're going to make this for adults. We like what you're doing, but we need to make this for adults. Not 16-year-old girls who've never been kissed. This is for adults.
Yeah, because they know the trend right now is the historical romance, but like The Great, like even Bridgerton, like some, they're all like ratcheted up a little bit from the books. They're for adults.
Yes.
And people are watching that stuff right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to be honest, I caught some of the reviews. People really like that show a lot. It's gotten really great ratings.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's absurd and hilarious. And again, if you don't care about getting history wrong, watch it.
Yeah, you had no business watching this if you can't understand that it is like made up version of history.
Yeah.
Almost fairy tale like you said,
Yes, definitely alternate world, alternate history. There's magic. There's people turning into animals. So obviously not our normal human life, but
yeah, even the narrator, I mean, they functioned in the same capacity as the narrator in the book.
The narrator, I love the narrator.
Yeah, like even Jane, like the character is his own character. Jane is trying to work a spell to get him to not be a horse anymore, Ethian anymore. But that is not what happened in the book. But she's doing this, and then it doesn't work, and the narrator is like, "Yeah, did you think that would work?
Yeah, why'd you think that was gonna work? Of course it doesn't.
Kind of story. It's not this kind of story. It's not what we're doing." It's like, okay, like the little wit and stuff. I thought the humor in the show was actually better than the humor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, that narrator had some of the best one-liners.
Absolutely. It was so good. What else? What else should we talk about with the show? Oh, the mother. Okay, Jane's mother. They really did something different with her because she ends up sleeping around with
everybody.
Guilford's brother. And by the way, no one calls him G in the show.
I know,
Nobody.
that was a little annoying. That was the one thing I could not let go of. I was like, he hated his name. Just call him G. Like that doesn't change anything. Just call him G.
That would have been nice, but they didn't. So Jane's mother sells off her younger sister to this old nasty man because they find out that the Dudleys are actually broke. And so she sells her off like to marry this guy, and she decides, I'll just get him drunk. And then the youngest sister is like, what about every night after that night? She's still got to sleep with that nasty fart, And it's hilarious. The next morning, the youngest sister, this chick is not even 10 years old, seemed like.
She is a child.
She is a child murderer. She's a murderer. She went up to that guy.
She is cold-blooded.
She stuck an apple or something in his mouth, put her hand over his nose, and killed him, murdered him. I'm like, oh, damn.
Cold-blooded. Oh, my God. But then the mother walks in and fucking eats the fruit. And I was like, oh, no, that's taking it too far. Don't eat the fruit.
Look, I gotta believe she bit the opposite side.
It was all in his mouth.
But still, nasty. She's like, I'm not wasting this fruit.
Feed it to the pigs.
But at least we got out of that,
Yeah.
But I'm like, they throw a bunch of other drama in there that didn't exist.
So much drama. The mother's
Yeah.
sleeping with Stanley, the elder brother. Then
Mm-hmm.
she's ditching him because she's like, oh no, you're poor, so I need to ditch you for somebody richer. Then she's trying to like worm her way into the council and do all of these things. And
Yeah.
we got a new character called Susanna, who was a
Mm-hmm.
maid and rightfully called out Jane for being very uppity and like, well, you never asked about my
Elitist.
life.
Yeah.
Are we actually friends, or did I just scrub your floors?
That's that thing where sometimes the wealthy people think their staff are their friends.
Mm-hmm. And the
No.
staff is like, no, I'm just paid to be here.
Yeah,
This
I'm
isn't.
friendly because you're my boss.
Yeah,
We not friends.
we're not friends. This is not a thing.
Yeah. But she knew she could manipulate her, though. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
she'll come because she's so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we also got like a really great scene with her fighting with what's his face? Why am I shrinking on his name right now? Guilford. They're like fighting with the swords. I'm like, ooh, hot.
Oh
They're
yeah,
like,
that got kind of sexy.
yeah, because she's like gonna go save her friend, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. He's like, no, I'm good. And he just shows up like, and then they said, oh, let's just fight right here
Just
for
fight
shits
each
and
other.
giggles. Yeah.
Roll around in the dirt and the leaves and hold knives at each other's throats. Because we're sexy like that.
Yeah, we got time to. It's just like that other book I was talking about the other month. Hey, we got time to just stop and frolic.
Mm-hmm.
Never
Just
mind, we're
stop
on a
and frolic.
mission.
Doesn't matter what's
Yeah.
happening around us.
Yeah. So all that fun kind of stuff. It was really ridiculous, but it was really good.
It was good. It was good. Yeah. I think I want to watch it again.
Yeah?
Yeah. Maybe not anytime soon, but in a couple months. Or invite some friends over and be like, let me introduce you to something absurd.
Yeah. Because even the ending here, obviously there's going to be a season 2 because we didn't
I was kind of surprised
by
that. I thought they were going to wrap it up nicely and then like season 2 would be the next book. But no,
seems like now that makes me wonder, are they not even going to do that at all?
Maybe.
The second book?
I don't know. There's 4 books in the series and each book follows a different Jane. One's going to be Jane Eyre, one's Calamity Jane. So that'll be like,
what's the other one? Because I only saw 3.
I think it.
And then I know they did a Mary.
It might have been Mary.
Yeah, they did a Mary trilogy too. That kind of I think is a compliment to this. I guess.
Yeah, My Salty Mary.
Yeah,
remix of The Little Mermaid with Lady Pirate Mary Read.
So interesting.
That comes out this month. That's not even out yet. Yeah, no, that comes out August 20th, 2024.
Okay, yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, because the first one was My Contrary Mary. So, yeah, I think, yeah, they must not be following the books, or maybe they're gonna do 2 seasons to tell this story.
Because they left a lot unsaid. Like, people still think the king is dead. Mary's still in charge. There's so much.
They ran away.
Yeah,
Jane
they
and
ran away.
Guilford ran away. As she took off on her husband, he turned into a horse and they took off.
But that breaks one of the rules. Don't ride him.
I know. It's a rule. They didn't have a choice. They did
not have a choice.
But yeah, so I know they're going to finish it with the second season. I can't imagine them dragging it to a third season. They've got to...
Unless they create whole new plot lines and stories and all kinds of different stuff, they really shouldn't. It should be wrapped up with a second season fairly easily.
And then they could do another one if they feel like it. But stuff gets canceled so fast. It's probably going to be a 2-season show and that's it.
Unfortunately, I think you're right, which sucks. But I wish they would, not cancel shows after 1 or 2 seasons. It's hard to get invested in things when it's like, oh, I see you, you're gone, goodbye.
Exactly. I agree. They're like, it's going to be gone in a minute, so don't bother. But I think, okay, so I think we should just go ahead and
rate it.
Any other highlights before we rate the show?
Probably, but I can't think of anything. I appreciate the humor. I like the changes they made were actually good changes and things I had critiqued and annoyed me with the book. So
I agree. I love the changes too.
Yes.
We're on the same page with that.
Yes.
And to be honest, it was totally bingeable. It was bingeable.
So
I watched this like in 3 days, and I had to space it out because I was traveling and stuff. But if I were sitting at home, I probably would have done it in 1 day.
Oh yeah, no, I watched it, fell asleep, and then woke up and finished it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. Bingeable.
It was good. Yeah, bam, bam, bam. So easy to watch it all in one sitting.
Okay, so let's go ahead and rate the adaptation. 1 to 5, as we do. What do you think?
I'm going to give it a 4-star.
Okay.
Consistently 4 stars across the board. It was funny. It was great. I love the changes. It's not the best show ever, but I enjoy it. And I think I will watch it again sometime in the future. And I will watch season 2 when it comes out, if I remember to watch it.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 4-star. It was better than the book to me.
Awesome.
By a significant amount. So it's a solid 4 stars. And like you, I will watch it again. I'll probably rewatch it right before the next season comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to watch season 2 and I want to be refreshed. So I'll probably just put it on the shelf until season 2 comes, and then I'll probably watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. I'm glad we did this one.
I'm really glad. Yeah, this I think has been one of my favorite adaptations that we've ever covered. Usually I have to critique everything and get really annoyed with all of this stuff. But this time I was able to actually turn my brain off and just be like, no, the adaptation is good.
Yeah, the timing was perfect. I think this is a great summer read and summer watch. So, like you said, it's lighthearted. It's not too much, going on where you're confused and you don't know what's what.
You know exactly what's happening. It's easy to follow along. But it is very adultish. So don't let kids watch it. But if you grew up and watched Ella Enchanted and said, I want this, but with, more fucking, then this is the show for you.
Oh my God. Yeah, no kids allowed.
No kids allowed.
But it's good stuff. Definitely recommend. So I think that's it. What do you think, Casey?
I think that's it.
All right. This has been a fun one. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. We appreciate you for doing that. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Did you enjoy today's episode? If so, please head over to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave a positive 5-star review. It's a simple action that makes a big difference. You can also like this episode on your favorite podcast player or share it with your fellow bookworm friends on social media. Joining the Shelf Addiction Patreon family is another way to support us. For as little as $2 a month, you can help our team create even more amazing bookish content. If Patreon isn't your thing, consider becoming a supporter on the Spreaker app for just $5 a month and gain access to exclusive audio-only content. You can find me everywhere, including Instagram, X, and TikTok under the handle Shelf Addiction. Join our book club of the same name on the book club's website and app, where we discuss all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. Thanks for tuning in.